What's up, guys, and welcome back to Job Site Conditions right here on Deco-Crete TV. My name's Jeff, and on today's episode, we're going to show you guys how to use a thin overlay to resurface your existing concrete slab. Now, this is going to be a step-by-step video with all the tools and equipment that you're going to need, so stay tuned and you're going to learn all about it. So today's project is going to rate as a 4 on our DIY meter, and the product we're going to be using is Trowel Overlay from Deco-Crete. So Trowel Overlay is an easy to use, cost-effective product that will completely cover up old or damaged concrete at a fraction of the cost of removing and replacing your current slab. Now, this overlay is a just add water product that is naturally a concrete gray color, or you can add a wide variety of colors to make your transformation even more impressive. So the tools and equipment we're gonna need for today's job are a pressure washer, a pump-up sprayer, a roller frame and some covers, a mixer, some spike shoes, a magic trowel and some paint brushes, and a few basic concrete finishing tools like a few steel trowels and a broom. Now, we're also gonna need some Surebond 100 just to prime the surface and a bag of Easy Patch for a few repairs. And don't worry, all these products are all linked right down in the description below. So now that we're out here at the job site, you can see that we got this porch right behind us here, and this is gonna be what we're gonna do for today's project. You know, this homeowner is planning on doing stamped concrete, you know, where I'm standing right now, and they just wanna kind of freshen up this porch at a low cost and be able to kind of tie it all together. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and start the prep process, which is basically gonna involve this pressure washer right here. You know, again, this is old concrete. Really what I need to do is I just need to thoroughly pressure wash the surface, and that's it. Now, if this porch did have, you know, some sealer on it, I might need to do something to break that sealer down. You can use a product like Knockoff to chemically remove some of that sealer, or we can go to a sandblast. Now, if this is a smooth trowel floor, like somebody's basement or something like that, honestly, the best thing to do is just get your grinder on there and grind off that surface and you're good to go. Today's project, however, which is what most front porches are, is just a simple pressure wash. For proper technique and equipment, please check out our video on pressure washing and we'll go through the whole process. So we got everything washed off. We just took a leaf blower and blew all the standing water off of this slab. And then what we did is we just took a propane torch just to dry up these little areas. You know, you can see that these are just pop outs where, you know, there's a stone right under that and it was just a little bit of a weak surface of that concrete. It blows the top out and we need to patch all those first, and we're gonna use a product called Easy Patch to do that. Now, you know, we can worry about getting the rest of this slab dried out and we'll go to priming after all this Easy Patch is done, but this is gonna need a little bit of time to dry anyways. So a couple things that we're gonna need for applying this Easy Patch is, first of all, some Surebond 100 primer. Now we're gonna use that later on before we actually apply the overlay, but for now, all we're gonna do is just take a little bit of that, dump it into a little container and just, you know, paint it down into those spalted areas just to give us a primer so we got a good bond out of our Easy Patch. We're gonna need, you know, a couple little trowels just to kind of smooth this stuff out and do what we needed to do. And I'm only really gonna worry about those spots that are a little bit bigger. So anything that's under an 1/8 inch thick, and if it's just a little speck, you know, of something that got scratched or got blown off, my first coat, my base coat of overlay is gonna take care of that, but I do need to fill all these bigger ones. So once I got them primed out, all I'm gonna do is just mix a little bit of water with the Easy Patch. We're not gonna need very much, so I'm just gonna do it in a little small container, just with a little handheld drill mixer. You know, other things you might need is just a brush to clean your tools off and a pair of gloves just so you don't get it all over your hands. Now just keep in mind that Easy Patch sets up really fast. If I had a lot of these little patches to make, like on a bigger area, you know, I don't want to go making a half bag at a time. I'm just going to make little batches, that way I can continue to use it. I'm only going to be able to use this for about 10 minutes and then it's too late. It's really easy to tell when the Easy Patch is dried out and ready to move on. You can see how it turns to a lighter color rather than this darker color here. And so as soon as that stuff is lightened up, then we are ready to go and get started priming. So for the primer stage of the project, we're gonna need a couple different things. First of all, this here Surebond 100 primer. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna mix that half and half with water, and then we're gonna put it in this sprayer right here. We don't need anything special. Honestly, this is just a cheap little plastic pump sprayer. I like these ones from Chapin because they seem to last longer than anything else. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna spray that stuff right on the surface and just really saturate it out really well. And then we're gonna follow that up just with a roller, just to mop up any puddles, make sure everything's covered real good. And we don't have to even let this completely 100% dry. We just need to, make sure there's no standing water on it. And we want that surface to be SSD. And SSD stands for surface saturated dry, which means that it's completely saturated, yet there's no standing water and it appears to be dry on the top. So as soon as we're at an SSD state, then we're ready to go ahead and start mixing up our overlay and applying the base coat. And you can see that primer, as it sits there for a second, it's gonna start to clear out and lose that white milky look that it had when we were putting it down. And that's okay. When the moisture from this mix hits that dry primer, it will reactivate it again. Just keep in mind, on a really, really hot day, it might not be a bad idea just to mist that surface down just with water very lightly, and that'll help reactivate that primer if things are drying out really fast. Now, in order to start mixing, the great thing about this trowel overlay is that all we gotta do is add water. We don't need any additional polymer or anything like that. It's all in the bag. So the other thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add this bag of color in there, and there is a large variety of these to choose from. And the great thing is, super simple dosage. One of these small bags will color an entire bag of overlay. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna measure out my water, I'm gonna dump it into my bucket, and then I'm gonna go ahead and open this little guy up and dump all that powder out of there. Go ahead and give that water just a little bit of a stir, maybe either with a paint stick or a little drill mixer, just to get that thoroughly blended. And as soon as that color's mixed into our water, we just open up our bag of overlay, dump it in, and start mixing. There's a pretty wide range of water that we can use here, anywhere from 5 to 6 quarts. Now, if I was gonna be, putting this down with the trowel and creating some texture, I might wanna keep it a little on that tighter side. In this case, today's application is all gonna be done with the magic trowel, so I actually want it to be pretty good and loose, so I'm gonna lean closer to that 6 quarts of water to get this stuff mixed up. And then on really hot days, just keep in mind you might need just an additional tiny bit of water just to make it easier for you. And now it's a really good idea just to go ahead and let this material fall set for about another 3 to 5 minutes. And what I like to do is, during that fall set time, I can go get all my final tools rounded up that I need and get everything ready to go. And then after that 3-minute fall set period, go ahead and just stick your mixture back down in there and give it a spin. And if the consistency still looks the way you like it to be, then go ahead and take it straight to the pad and start applying. If you feel like you need to give it just a splash of water at that point, go ahead and do that. But now that we let it fall set and remixed it, now we're gonna be good for at least 15 to 20 minutes of working time. All we're gonna do is we're just gonna take our magic trowel and we're just gonna smooth this stuff out. And I like to use that trowel almost like a gauge. Again, this material is going down pretty thin, so I like to use the sand that's in the material kind of as my gauge. So if I can slick across it with my magic trowel and it's smoothing it out, then I know I've got it on the right thickness. If I have it on too thin, it's just gonna look really chattery from the sand, and I don't wanna put it on too thick or I'm gonna end up with too much build. So a little bit of feel with that magic trowel, a little bit of practice, and you guys are gonna have it. All we're gonna do is just trowel this out, and that's it. Then we're just gonna let it dry, and then as this stuff dries up, and again, you'll be able to see that color lighten up just like we did in our Easy Patch. And as soon as it all looks like that lighter color, well, then we can go ahead and go to our next coat. If you guys are doing an inside floor and you want to try to make it a little bit smoother, you can always run a sander over it, between coats, and that's going to help you guys get a smoother final product. In this case, broomed concrete, not going to worry about it. So this porch is nice, a nice flat area. It's got the minimum slope needed for water to actually drain off this concrete. And so this is gonna be really easy because it's nice and flat. Now, if you're on a driveway or something that's got a little bit more slope to it, don't worry. This stuff it's going on thin, and the viscosity of this material, it's not just gonna wanna run off that driveway. So don't be scared if you have an area that's a little bit steeper, or if you have fronts of steps. So we got our base coat all applied, and now we're just letting this dry out so we can get on to our second application. Now, as far as the next coat is concerned, this is where there's some different options. Pretty much any project you do, everything we've done so far is gonna be exactly like we just did it. But now we could do a few different things for this second coat. We could use a trowel, and we could trowel this overlay down and actually create texture with that trowel. We could add, tape for grout lines if we want. We could cut lines in it to make a wood pattern tomorrow. There's just tons of different options if we were gonna be troweling this stuff down. We could also use a hopper, a drywall hopper gun, and we could do a spray texture. texture with this overlay. Now in today's case, we're just gonna re-broom this surface. It was originally broom concrete, and that's what we're gonna put back on it. Probably one of the most common uses of this overlay is just to resurface porches, driveways, sidewalks, and re-broom them. So everything that we're gonna need, we're gonna mix the product exactly the same. We're still gonna need our spiked shoes. We're still gonna need our magic trowel. Now what we're gonna be using is just a normal concrete finishing broom here. And one of the things that I do like is some sort of a bracket like this where I can adjust the angle. And I'm also gonna need a helper this time. This is one of those things that, man, we really want that broom getting pulled across, pretty much right after the trowel. And if I was by myself, and the area's a little bit larger, it's just really hard to trowel it down and then hop off and broom it and to be able to make a nice product. So you definitely want a helper for this step. Well guys, that's pretty much it for the overlay process. All we need to do now is apply some sealer once this thing has a day or two to cure out. Now D1 or D-Shield are both great options for sealing. In this case, we use D1 just to get the most out of our color. If you guys have any questions on this, please leave them in the comments right below. And for information on in-depth live trainings for decorative concrete, please go to deco-cretesupply.com and click on the training tab. If you guys found this video helpful, please let us know by hitting that like and subscribe button. And if you're already subscribed, don't forget about that bell icon so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos, and it really helps our channel out. So from all of us here at Deco-Crete TV, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.